You got a gun, you got a big gun, you got a gun, it's not a real one, and all you ever think about is running away, all you ever think about is trying to stay away from me.
And welcome back to another episode of the LoudMouth MMA podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Steele. Today, another episode of the UFC Rewind. We are up to UFC 3, which is not necessarily an amazing feat, but it's more than other people have done. So
we're getting there.
Pat ourselves in the back for that. Joining me in studio is Mr. Matthew Hitchcock. Hello, Matthew.
What's up?
Please let everyone know where we can find you on Twitter.
At Hitchcock87.
These assholes don't listen all the way to the end. So now you got to hit them. Hit them now.
It's at Hitchcock87.
And you can find me at LoudMouth MMA, same place you can find the podcast stream. Do whatever you got to do. Please subscribe and all that jazz. I'm feeling a lot better today.
I was
My
just going to say, you're sounding much better.
Little, there's definitely still some nastiness in there, but man, from where I started to now, I'll take it.
It'll work its way out.
Yeah, I'll take it. Although, very unhappy that I forgot my drink. I grabbed a drink out of the fridge, and I brought it down, I meant to bring it down, and I didn't bring it down, and that's really upsetting. Especially because I came down, I licked the peanut butter off of a knife. Because I put peanut butter on something for my daughter.
You sabotaged yourself.
And I licked the peanut butter, and I was like, oh, I'm really thirsty now. But I'm like, well, I'll bring my drink down. And I didn't bring the drink. So now I got peanut butter mouth on top of still being sick. You can't win for losing. Okay. Like I said, today we're doing UFC 3. I'm excited for a couple reasons. One, this will be the next event, will be the first time to where when I type it into Google, I don't have to sift through a bunch of video games in order to try to find the information I'm actually looking for.
I fucking knew it.
Yeah, that is really annoying.
You got to have the event name, The American Dream.
Oh my gosh! By the way, my favorite. I've only done the 3 events, but my favorite named event thus far, for sure.
Yeah.
The American Dream trumps the beginning, and what was number 2?
No Way Out.
No Way Out. Oh shit, that's funny. All right, I'm trying to pull the information up. This is one of those, like, you're supposed to do this before you actually record, but
fuck it.
I didn't. This is also our first time that we are not in Denver, Colorado. This time around, we are in Charlotte, North Carolina.
On the move.
I believe Wonder Boy's from South Carolina, right? I don't remember. Wonder Boy's from one of the Carolinas. I don't remember if it was South or North. But he talked about his dad being, I believe, at UFC 3.
Really?
I believe his dad was there in person.
That's history.
Yeah, I believe his dad was there in person for it. And let's just talk about this. Well, first of all, before I talk about the audience, because a lot of the audience kind of cracked me up, so I don't know what you noticed. But before we get into that, Matt, give me your overall thoughts. Give me your overall thoughts on UFC 3.
UFC 3 was...
and we've been trying to do it in like a sentence.
Yeah.
A sentence or a couple words.
I really don't even know what to say about this one because it was so crazy.
Dumpster fire. Yeah, that's mine. It was a dumpster fire.
I never forgot this event. This event was always one that stuck with me through the years just because Hoist got so beat up in that chemo fight that he couldn't continue. And I always remembered that. That was such a crazy fight. And I think I had even alluded.
And Chemo running into the cage when he quit with his manager.
Let's go celebrate that you lost.
Yeah, that you lost, but it's one of those, like,
he toppled the giant.
It's like I lost, but
he's human.
Yeah,
I showed you.
I will say, this is the first time. Again, we're only 3 events in.
Yeah,
but this is the first time that in that chemo fight, which we're gonna give more of a. Trust me, we'll get into listing all the fights and the styles and all that. So, but we're just kind of getting into it. No real foreplay. Let's just get into it. I will say in that chemo fight, I'm excited to talk about it in depth because, it is the first time that you really saw Hoist was human.
Yeah.
And he was fighting a guy who...
Look at the guy he fought, though.
And here's the thing.
Monster.
So here is listen, Hoist had fought bigger guys.
Yeah.
Much bigger.
But bigger like that.
But this is different.
Yeah.
It was the first time he fought a guy that was just strong, man. He was built like a pit bull. and it showed.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, he was kind of beating up on him a little bit, and then obviously he got hurt. And the way that Hoist quit, I'm excited to talk about because it's just kind of insane. I mean, it kind of made me not like him very much. You know what I mean? We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Okay, so I don't remember what the. It's right here. Thankfully, thank God. Good job, Wikipedia. All right, here's the bracket. So our first fight of the night. Oh, let me give you the stats real quick, huh?
Yeah, I'm curious. What's the buy rate?
Yeah, so it's in North Carolina, like I said. This is September 9th of 1994. So this would have been the same year as UFC 2.
Yeah,
They
but
had
almost
two events in the year.
Almost a year after the first.
Almost a year after the first one. The first one was in November, I believe, of 93. The venue is the Grady Cole Center. The attendance was 3,000. And the buy rate was 90,000. So you've dropped off.
Decline.
Yep, you've dropped off from UFC 2.
Would you say that was 300K?
I don't know. It was a lot, though.
I think it was 300K or something ridiculous.
That doesn't sound right, but at the same time, I don't remember.
Go back and look real quick, just because I'm so curious.
No, for sure. UFC 2's buy rate was 300,000.
I knew it.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Crazy. You also did not have any opening fights this time around.
No, back to the 8-man tournament.
Back to the 8-man. I don't know what happens as we move forward, but we're back to the 8-man. You don't have the opening fights to worry about.
As crazy as UFC 2 was, I think they dialed it back in the tournament format like that because they realized that guys were just getting too fucked up to continue through such a long, grueling tournament.
Yeah.
That extra stage in the tournament killed a lot of guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But UFC 3 killed a lot of guys, too.
God. Yeah, UFC 3, again, you guys don't even know yet. I mean, for those of you listening, if you've never seen
the uninitiated.
UFC 3, you have no idea, like, how batshit crazy this ends up getting.
Right from the go.
A little bit. I mean, the fights were crazy, but I'm talking about the stuff outside. I mean, it has to do with the fights, but
Jim Brown's back.
As this goes along, Jim Brown, at this point, the longest tenured commentator.
Yep.
Because Brian Kilmeade, that was only his second time commentating.
Yep.
The first time, he was like ringside or something. He wasn't at the commentator's table. Jim Brown is now the only person who has commentated at the table for all three events.
And he's starting to like it.
God, and he's all amped up.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a single football pun the entire time,
he's starting to like
which
it,
was
and it
fantastic. Does he come back for UFC 4?
I don't remember, but I do remember who Hoist fights in 4. Like, I remember things about 4.
You just can't remember.
I don't remember the announcers or commentators or any of that.
But
that's the debut of Dan Severn, man. The Beast.
Oh, is it UFC 4?
Yes.
He fights Hoist. I know that.
UFC 4 was bad, dude.
So
I'm excited for it.
So Jim Brown, I just want to make sure this is not understated, that by the time UFC 3 ends, Jim Brown, okay? Now, again, maybe you're not familiar with Jim Brown. Let me let you know, Jim Brown, if you haven't heard us talk about it enough, was a running back for the Cleveland Browns. And a very good running back, a Hall of Fame running back. He was not a mixed martial artist. As far as I'm aware, he never fought ever.
Pretty much just a
he
professional
was like a boxing
athlete
fan.
Was pushed into the role.
Yeah, and he talked about boxing a lot. So like when that Howard or is it Harold Howard, I believe was his name, when he comes out and they're doing the quote Gracie train, which by the way, hilarious. He comes out doing the Gracie train and he references the fact that it isn't a Gracie train, it's actually Muhammad Ali and whatever, and he's talking, so you could tell he's a fan. Yeah. You know, he's a fan of the combat sports. But, he's not a martial artist. And by the time UFC 3 ends, he is the longest tenured commentator.
And he seems to really be enjoying it.
Which is just insane to me.
It's awesome.
They couldn't find somebody? They couldn't find someone to sit down on day one and be like, this guy knows everything. He's the guy.
I can't wait till we get to like the Mike Goldberg era,
and when Rogan comes on. And
yeah.
So how far ahead did Goldberg come on over Rogan?
I think Goldberg came after Rogan, but not by much.
Did he?
I think I could be wrong.
Because Rogan was doing backstage interviews.
Yeah,
he wasn't necessarily. He didn't commentate for quite some time.
That's kind of what I mean.
Okay,
I don't know when they took over, like who commentated first. I just know that Joe was working for the UFC really early.
Yeah,
like we're gonna get to that.
I think we're getting him pretty soon.
Like the teens, I think.
He's young. young too. I've seen some videos. He's real young.
Clean-faced young fella.
All right, so guys, let's talk about UFC 3 here. Keith, this is your quarterfinals, okay? You have. I'm going to go through the entire ones, and then we'll give the results. So you have Keith Hackney, which is American Kimpo, taking on Emmanuel Yarborough, who is sumo. At the time, was the biggest athlete competing
over 600
in any sport.
Pounds.
He was over 600 pounds. He was massive. Taylor Tooley is the last time we had a sumo wrestler.
He had to buy 2 airplane seats to fly in.
Oh, he was
event.
massive. He was 6'8", I believe.
Yeah, he was
over
huge.
600 pounds. He was just massive, and like I said, this is the second time we've seen a sumo guy, and he makes Taylor Tooley, the guy who was the first sumo wrestler, look tiny.
Really, though,
he was just massive.
It was kind of the first time that we had seen a sumo just because of what happened in that UFC 1 fight and how fast it was over. We didn't really get to see any sumo techniques in a fight. So, in that regard, Emmanuel Yarborough was really the first guy.
Then we had Kent Shamrock shoot fighting, taking on Christoph. I believe it's Leininger, something like that.
I don't know.
He's judo. Then we had Harold Howard.
Come on.
Who was karate. Also talked about how he was inventing a type of jujitsu that uses karate, which I loved. Against Rolando Payne, who was Muay Thai. The only one of our fighters, fun fact, the only one of our fighters that does not have his own Wikipedia page. Everybody else that I've listed, to include the next 2 fighters, have Wikipedia pages.
And in terms of
except for that guy.
In terms of which martial art he brought into the tournament, one of the more legit guys back in the day.
Sure. And he was Muay Thai, and I don't know if we even had we had a Muay Thai?
I don't think so.
I think he might have been the first Muay Thai guy in the UFC.
The first guy to even go out there and throw kicks.
And then you have Hoist Gracie taking on this is Chemo. Chemo making his debut. He would obviously go on to fight for the UFC a little bit. I mean, not terribly a lot, but I was digging through his record, and I was talking to Keith earlier, who was pretty good with all these early UFC stuff. So
that guy that he was with, Chemo, Joe-san, the Asian guy. You see that guy? Fun facts about him.
I think I know these facts, but go ahead.
Okay.
Do you want to start there? Here, save them.
Okay.
Because I have fun facts about him too, and they might match up.
Okay.
So let's go back to the first fight. First fight of the night was Keith Hackney, like we said, American Kimpo, taking on Emmanuel Yarborough, who was this just hulk of a man, like 600 plus pounds, huge. Okay. Couple things that were firsts in this fight. Number 1, the size.
Yeah.
Okay. This was definitely the biggest disparity we had seen.
Yes.
And number 2, the first time that someone got pushed through a cage door.
And it happened more than once.
Than once in this event, but this was the first time it happened.
Yep.
Which kind of is shocking. It's kind of shocking that no one got pushed through a door before in the first 2 events. But this was it. The first time Keith Hackney gets sumoed, essentially, because he's kind of fighting him like a sumo wrestler. He's like pushing him back, and then he pushes him out of the cage.
Keith actually wrote a book about his fight that night. It's called How to Break Your Hands.
Oh, my gosh. I was thinking that as it was happening.
Me too. I was looking at the shock in his wrist and his elbow, and I was like, oh, his arm is fucked.
So, okay, let's go ahead and get into this one. So, we're not giving soup because we only have another 15 minutes, so we can't do this for too long. So we spent a lot of time talking about other stuff. Basically the way this fight goes is at first, it's Keith Hackney looks like if you're a white dude from Boston, he looks like your uncle. Basically,
that was actually a pretty solid 90s karate guy. Yeah, but could break a board or two.
Yeah, exactly, right? One of these fights, not the next fight, but the fight after that, literally just looked like a bar fight. Literally. It looked like 2 guys that were literally in a bar fight.
No, the first fight was a slap fight until the breaking.
Emmanuel Yarborough, the sumo wrestler, okay, the way that he gets knocked down the first time, he gets knocked down twice, I believe. First time he gets knocked down, it is by a palm strike. Not a palm strike to like the bridge of your nose or something.
It's not a Boss Rutan palm strike. It's more of like a Paris Hilton palm strike.
It is essentially a slap.
No, but he slaps the shit out of him.
Now he does. He does slap the shit out of him.
Made Nate Diaz shed a tear.
But to a point that it makes Yarbrough's like knees buckle and go to the ground? And why two? And why is this true? Because it seems to always be true. Why do the largest people fall the slowest?
Isn't
it bizarre? Like, you would think that the bigger you are, the harder you would fall, because that's like the saying. But it seems to always be the opposite. He fell. It was like a tree. He was like a tree, just like slowly just folded in on himself,
creaking.
But the shot that took him down, I'm not so sure it would take me down. I don't think that would knock me down.
Either he's got a chin made out of like wet grass,
or
he just didn't see it.
Can I just say what I think it is?
Tell me.
I think he's just a pussy. Like, honestly, like he gets knocked down twice, and both times it was kind of like I think this just wasn't his thing.
Emmanuel Yarbrough's about to buy 2 airplane seats and come out here and have a word with you.
I want to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Oh, yeah, I think he is.
I think he's dead.
I think he is.
And listen, I'm not trying to speak ill of the guy.
Yeah, rest in peace.
He died in 2015, age 51. I imagine it was a heart attack. Let me see. Died of a heart attack. His manager said that he had battled all his life with food addiction.
That size is not sustainable.
I'm a prisoner in my own body. By the age of 14, he'd already weighed 320 pounds. Jesus Christ. In 2007, he was hospitalized for a week due to heart failure. He weighed 800 pounds when he went in. In 2007, he weighed 800 pounds.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Yarbrough, what was your cardio routine going into the event?
Eating? I'm pretty sure. He would have 3 MMA fights. He lost to Keith Hackney. He would then go back and fight shoot the Shudo, XX, which is 20, I assume.
Shoot the Shudo.
He would win a fight. Oh, that's the one where he's smothered. That's the infamous fight where the guy gets beaten by getting smothered. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. He used his gut to choke the guy out, essentially.
That's terrifying.
That's him. That's Emmanuel Yarbrough. He would then go on and fight in Pride and get submitted by punches. So
that takes
R.I.P. Emmanuel Yarbrough.
Yes.
R.I.P. But this wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
This wasn't his thing. It is what it is.
I don't think it's any sumo wrestler's thing.
No, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I just
the first 2 sumo wrestlers looked like trash.
This is just not the sport for you.
No. All right, moving on. Ken Shamrock taking on Lineker. This was a fight, again, you know, we'd obviously been introduced to Ken Shamrock before. We wasn't sure who this guy was. This was the longest fight of the night, and it was also the longest fight that we had in UFC history, not counting the opening rounds, because there was a fight that was longer, I believe, in the opening rounds of UFC 2.
Not a bad fight.
But as far as the brackets were concerned, at 4 minutes and 49 seconds, this held the record. This held the record for the longest fight, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, that no fight had lasted this long,
4.5
again,
minutes.
outside of the opening rounds of UFC 2. But in the actual, like, quote, bracket itself, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. I mean, I don't remember anything in particular about this fight other than, it was like a pretty good fight.
Pretty decent.
Kid Shamrock was doing his thing.
You knew he was going to win.
We should say, sorry, Keith Hackney in that first fight, because we didn't touch on this. Yeah, he broke his hands. Now, you didn't find out he broke his hands
until later in the event.
Until later in the event when he had to pull out and he gets replaced. But
we all knew his
hand was broken. By the way,
it
was the most obvious thing in the world.
Yeah, we
what
knew
was
it.
he doing?
As soon as that fight with Emmanuel ended, you could see him looking down at his bloody fucking hand.
It made no sense. He was punching him in a way that was so... Why did he not just step away and kick him in the face four times?
Why not just wrap your hands?
It's bizarre.
Seriously, your idea is better. Don't get me wrong.
Poor
One good
Keith
soccer
Hackney,
kick is better than 20 of those Keith Hackney punches.
I just feel bad, man. I mean, poor Keith Hackney. Like, it seemed like...
Oh, he's gonna take it all out on Josan in, like, the next event. I don't know if it's UFC 4
It's UFC 4. He fights in UFC 4.
With Josan?
Yep.
Okay, just wait. He's gonna take all that frustration out on Josan.
Okay, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
In a way that has never been matched.
Really?
Ever. Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited.
That's the highlight of UFC 4, other than Dan Severn, Royce Gracie.
I don't know any of this.
Okay,
I'm so
good.
excited. I'm so excited.
It's my favorite fight in the card.
So, guys, tune into UFC 4 because I'm jacked. So let's move on to Ken Shamrock and Lineker, I believe. I don't know. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but whatever. It doesn't matter. He doesn't win.
I'll tell you what.
Ken Shamrock wins.
If he won that night, we'd know how to pronounce it.
Sure. If he'd have won that night, we would know. I believe he never He does wind up fighting in the UFC again. He fights Guy Metzger at UFC 13.
That's a bad matchup. I don't care who you are back in the old days. That's a bad matchup. Tell me
loses a decision.
Exactly.
Loses a decision against Guy Metzger. And he would actually go on a 3-fight win streak after his UFC 3 loss, all by submission in the best in the Southwest Championships, all in the same night.
You know who Guy Metzger is?
Yes, I'm familiar with Guy Metzger. Yep. I'm talking about this Leininger guy. He would go on and win a championship in 97, the FCSB Best in the Southwest Championships. He would end up winning it.
Hey, congratulations. Who would have thought?
Yeah, who'd have thunk it? Like I said, nothing too remarkable. It was just it looked like a Ken Shamrock fight. Basically,
it was a little bit more competitive than most of Ken's opponents. At least he hung in there for a little bit,
and he looked old as fuck.
Yeah, he took some face punches too.
Didn't he look real old?
Yeah, he looked like an old guy.
He came out with a blue gi on.
Yeah,
looked real old.
Ken came out in that fucking Speedo.
Yep.
Can we talk about why Ken changed Speedos throughout the night? Because I noticed it. First fight was like red Speedo, second fight was gold Speedo.
Maybe there was some symbolism there. I don't know.
I have no idea.
We changed Speedos.
I noticed Ken.
The secret's out.
I'm meat gazing.
Okay, next fight. You'd have Harold Howard. This is our debut of Harold Howard.
Come on.
Who would go on, who would fight Rolando Payne, and who would beat Rolando Payne. It would beat him. This looked like a bar fight. That's the best way to describe it.
It looked
like a bar fight where both guys kind of knew what they were doing, and people threw some kicks.
Yeah.
But basically, they were just brawling.
Yeah.
And and it's hard to even describe. When they said that Harold Howard was friends with Kevin Rozier, I was like, well, no shit. I mean, good Lord, they look like two cousins. I mean, and they both look like trash.
It was just kind of one of those fights, like both guys were just swinging, and somebody had to land first.
Harold Howard still alive, fantastic. He's 6'2". He last fought in the heavyweight division. His record, he would beat Rolando Payne. He would never win a fight again. He never won an MMA fight outside of Rolando Payne.
Wow.
That's really sad, actually.
I did not.
He seemed legit.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty decent showing other than that Rolling Thunder in the second fight.
Oh, shit.
Where he missed by a mile. That was hilarious.
Harold Howard, in December 22nd, 2009, Howard was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of assault with a weapon, attempted breaking and entering, failure to remain, flight from police, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, mischief, and 2 counts of breach of recognizance after being captured by police.
That's in Canada, too.
The events leading to said arrest include attacking his sister and nephew with a hammer, attempting to force his way into his estranged wife's home, and finally crashing his car into the Fallsville casino. In the end, Harold was sentenced to just shy of 5 years in prison.
I was gonna say you got to fuck up real bad in Canada to get that kind of stuff, but yeah, it sounds like he had some fucking terrible times.
I guess that's not like crazy shocking. It's a little surprising, but it's like, I don't know, dude. That guy was real wild.
There's always a chance.
Give me some Howard quotes, man.
There's always a chance somebody with a mullet like that could just come unhinged.
Right?
You
gave me a Howard quote earlier.
That quote from the beginning of the event when he was just like, if you're coming on, come on. That's a real quote, ladies and gentlemen.
My quote was, he goes to the end, he goes, I love the children. He goes, I love my wife, and believe it or not, I love my family. That was his post-fight speech.
Excuse me, sir. Your Wikipedia says otherwise.
Oh, my gosh. It was funny. He goes, believe it or not, I love my family.
Believe it or not, I don't believe you.
Now we get on down to the Hoist Gracie chemo fight.
Okay. The big one.
So the reason why this is important is because it was, again, the first time you saw a chink in Hoist's armor, and that chink was, just to explain it, it's real simple, the guy was a hell of a lot stronger.
He was huge, and he was athletic.
And listen, he was bigger, but again, he definitely was not the biggest guy the Hoist had fought, and it wasn't even close.
Yeah.
But there was the first time he fought a guy, I think, with this level of strength, just this level of athleticism.
And he seemed like he wasn't a complete fish out of water down there on the ground. Like, he had a couple sweeps on Hoist, reverse position a few times. Like, he did some stuff on the ground that was not total noobish.
For those of you guys listening, normally we keep these at a half an hour. This one's going to be 45 minutes. There's no way we can get the rest of this stuff in 5 minutes.
Sorry, folks.
So we're going to add another 15 minutes, and there you go. Congratulations. Okay. So, yeah. Can we talk about the walkout?
Oh, the cross?
Chemo's walkout.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk to me.
I feel like he gassed himself on the way to the cage, carrying a big fucking
Carrying
cross.
a gigantic wooden cross.
Why?
Because
It's
that's what
so
Jesus did.
It's
Clearly.
so heavy.
Listen.
It didn't look like it was not
listen,
real wood.
The burden was heavy. Okay, that's the point. Okay, now talk to me about before we even get into the fight. Talk to me about Chemo's. What are your fun facts about Chemo's manager? Does one of them involve Austin Powers?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
yeah.
talk to me. Give me some fun Chemo facts.
First of all, he's
Not Chemo, but Chemo's manager,
Joseon.
He's
In the first Austin Powers movie, played that guy that threw shoes. He was like who was the guy in James Bond that he was making fun of? Was it Odd Job?
I don't remember.
I think it was Odd Job.
Yeah.
Because Odd Job threw his hat.
Yep.
But Austin Powers guy threw his shoe. Okay, yeah, he's still in prison for life.
Throws a shoe.
He's still in prison for life.
Oh yeah, he is. Why is he in prison for life? Why did he get?
Shit.
Now, why did he go to prison in the first place? Do you know why?
I thought it was the same reason he's still in there for.
No. He goes to prison for something different.
What did he go to prison for?
He goes to prison for rape.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, so he goes to prison. Real quick, let me.
Like gang rape. Add that.
So he goes to prison. I don't know exactly how this happened, but they wound up like testing his DNA for something. Okay, let me go to his little thing. Acting career.
This guy is the fucking scum of the earth.
Okay. Let me go into on October 28th, he was charged with participation in a gang rape in 1990. They didn't say how much. Yeah, they did not say why they had taken his DNA, but for some reason they took his DNA sample. There it was. When he was arrested, they took a DNA sample, and when they put it into the system, it popped up with matching DNA that was found on a victim of a gang rape. So he was then charged. Son and an accomplice tortured, repeatedly raped the victim, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go into details about that.
Suffice it to say, it fucking sucks.
In October 2011, okay, so this was, I believe, he was sentenced September 19th, 2011 to 7 years. 7 years to life, but chance of parole after the 7 years. In October 2011, so just about a month later, Son was accused of killing his cellmate, Michael Thomas Graham, a convicted sex offender. The murder happened on October 10th, 2011, on B Yard Reception Building 5, blah, 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 blah. A beating occurred, blah, 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 blah. At his trial in 2017, he was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter and received an additional 27-year sentence.
Fun fact, that's the only fight he ever won.
Yeah, the only fight he ever won was beating his cellmate to death.
Yeah, because I think he went like 0-4 professionally.
So he had a slight chance of getting out of prison, within a reasonable amount of time.
Nah.
Not anymore.
No.
Not anymore. He might have got out before because the rape was in 1990. He wasn't arrested and sentenced till 2011, right? And,
Jesus Christ.
and then he was only given 7 to life, which meant, he probably would have got paroled at some point.
It's a long
More
time.
than likely. Now, not a chance. Not a chance he gets paroled.
He deserves it.
Yep. So, Joseon, piece of shit.
Well,
Real piece of shit.
Back to earlier, real quick, before we move on. He hadn't committed
And
the crimes
Joseon,
yet.
again, for those of you maybe who are losing track, Joseon was the manager of Chemo, the guy who lost to Hoist Gracie, but in the process of losing, put up a hell of a fight.
Apparently, he didn't own a shirt.
And injured him.
Yeah. I don't think either one of those guys owned a shirt.
Howard's manager, by the way, was wearing one of those cigar coats.
Oh yeah, he had like one of those.
It was like
sex
red
jackets,
but he didn't have a shirt on underneath it. He was wearing a gold chain. It was so funny.
It's so 90s.
I love that guy.
Oh my!
I love
goodness.
that everything about Howard and his team. Well, not the whole thing that he tried to kill a bunch of people, but other than that, I like him.
Joseon hadn't committed the crimes yet, but
No.
when we get to UFC 4, he just what Keith Hackney does to him is so poetic. Just trust me.
I'm so excited.
Just trust me.
I'm
It's so
excited.
good.
I'm so excited. I'm so looking forward to it. So like we said, Chemo, I mean, he puts a beating on, he doesn't put a beating on Hoist, but I mean, he definitely did the best. They fall through the cage. Be the second time it happened.
Second time in one night.
Yep, second time in one night.
They like redesigned the cage that
Because
night too.
of
They
that?
did something different. No,
is
like
that
for
why?
that night. I don't know if it's why. It could have just been bad luck, but like I noticed that the cage looked different. Something was different about it. I think it was that big foam on the sides and just looked different.
Okay, so I mean, I guess what else can we say about this fight? I mean, you find out later that Hoist is injured, but we'll get to that in a minute.
I mean, he pulled Chemo's hair out.
Did he?
Completely out. Yeah, he had that ponytail. He went in with a ponytail. He left without it.
Oh, I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
Why didn't I catch that?
It was like middle of the fight, like when Chemo was on top of him, Hoist was like trying to set up a triangle, and he fully just like grabs that ponytail, wraps his fist around it, and holds it for like a solid minute to 2 minutes until it comes out. And he just rips that whole rips the whole chunk of hair out, and then Big John picks it up off the floor and throws it out of the cage.
like Big John would be prone to do. Yeah, Big John was, I think, refed every single fight here.
Oh, also Big
Pretty
John
cool.
screaming at all the Gracies to get off the side of the cage and put Coach and Hoist. That was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, why? Why are you telling them to get
Probably
off?
because there was no precedent for it at that point.
That's totally common
You know,
nowadays.
like now it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
at the time, there was no precedent for it. So it's like, hey, stop talking to your guy. What are you doing?
I could understand when they were like literally climbing over the fence.
Oh, I mean, they were Gracies. I mean,
But-
that's they're very dramatic.
If they
people.
were just like down on the floor
It
screaming,
wouldn't have mattered.
yeah,
It wouldn't have mattered, I'm sure. All right, let's move on to the semifinals, shall we?
let's do it.
So it was supposed to be Ken Shamrock fighting Keith Hackney. Mm-hmm. And Keith Hackney, of course, had to have just shattered his hands. I mean,
It was fun.
It was just ridiculous.
I wouldn't be surprised
The
if
way
he-
that he was punching Emmanuel Garborough was so dumb. It was like, what did you think was going to happen?
I wouldn't be surprised if his wrist and elbow and shoulder were messed
it was
up
so
too.
stupid. It was really dumb
Just
looking.
that whole arm was messed up, I bet.
So come in the Kung Fu fighter of Felix Mitchell, and Ken Shamrock has another kind of long fight here. So it's the second longest fight of the night, and it's only oh no, not the second. Hoist Gracie Chemo actually went 440. This fight went 434, and Ken Shamrock's first fight went 449.
Yeah.
So I mean, but by far,
Yeah.
when you add their two times together, I mean, good lord, he was in the ring for
Almost 10 minutes.
Almost 10 minutes.
That's a long
which
time
is
back
an
then.
eternity back then.
They weren't training cardio.
None of these guys were training cardio whatsoever.
No.
And it's apparent.
Yep.
Right? I mean, the sport has evolved so much. So, again, I don't really remember a whole lot about this fight. It was, again, it was very similar to the first fight almost.
Ken
It was-
hurt himself. He did something to his leg or his ankle, but I mean, another
It was,
typical
it
Ken
was
Shamrock
rather
victory.
rather competitive. It looked like a Ken Shamrock fight.
Took him down, grinded on him, submitted him.
Change position, and at the end of the day, he wound up, subbing him out.
Yep.
I mean, it looked like a very typical Ken Shamrock fight that we've seen in the first event. You know what I mean?
Took no damage, it looked like, till the very, very end.
And then somehow got hurt. Was he
something-
not in UFC 2 whatsoever? I don't think Ken Shamrock fought at UFC 2, did he?
Yeah, we just covered it.
Or did he get injured?
No.
Did he get injured early on? Why do I not remember Ken Shamrock in the second event at all? Let me look. It's because he wasn't. Ken Shamrock did not fight at UFC 2. So we have not seen Ken Shamrock since UFC 1, where, of course, he made it all the way to the finals with Hoist Gracie. Oh, no, he did not make it to the finals. He fought Hoist
he got
in the fight
scarf
before
choked.
the finals.
Yeah.
So this, he winds up beating Mitchell. He is now in the finals.
Yeah.
Okay, this would be Ken Shamrock's
This was the one.
first trip to the finals. Right? And Hoist Gracie is scheduled to fight Harold Howard. The problem is, Hoist Gracie goes into the octagon.
He sees that mullet.
They introduce everybody. You have the G-Man, going, Harold Howard. Howard. Okay. If you didn't listen to the UFC 2 and for some reason you just wanted to listen to the UFC 3, the G-Man, I can't remember the guy's name even because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. His nickname is G-Man, so that's all we're calling him. Whenever he would introduce someone, he would say their last name a second time. So my name is Kyle Steele. He would go, Kyle the whatever Steele. Steal. It was bizarre. I have no idea why he did it. I want to ask him. I just want to Google it, but I also don't want to Google it.
Get him on the podcast.
It's like I don't want to know. I want to know from him.
Get him on the podcast.
I don't want to read it. Like I want him to tell me. Okay. So he goes through all the introductions. Howard is ready to go. Hoist Gracie.
They're both in the cage.
They're both in the cage.
They're in the cage.
They're ready to go. And Hoist Gracie is like leaning up against the fence, and all of a
He's
sudden,
just like, fuck this.
waves it off, man.
I can't do it.
He sees that mullet, waves it off. The problem is that they threw in the towel, so it's as if he lost the fight. They didn't even give an alternate a chance to try to make it. So basically, if you go to the Wikipedia and you look at the way they have the bracket set up, Harold Howard is actually credited with a bye. I guess that's basically what it was. He had a bye.
And they celebrated like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were celebrating.
And so now we go into the finals. It's going to be Harold Howard fighting Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock, first time making it to the finals, and guess what? He doesn't even have to fight Hoist. He gets to fight this other guy.
No.
Ken Shamrock pulls out, injured.
Other plans.
So we now have stepping in Steve Ginham.
Who?
Ninjitsu.
Huh?
Steve Ginham.
What?
Who his practice is ninjitsu. He has not fought tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, he did not fight at UFC 3.
He's
there
fresh
were
as
no
a
opening
daisy.
fights. Fresh as a daisy. Comes out there, fucking walks through Harold Howard. Steve Ginham is your winner.
Dude, what a crazy
What
final.
in the world?
It's the American dream, baby.
Dude, is that why it's called the American
You
Dream?
could- you could
they
win-
named it after?
You win a fight contest without fighting.
He fought one. Steve Ginham spent a grand total of 1 minute and 27 seconds inside the octagon
What's that
and
hourly?
became a winner.
What's the hourly rate for that $60,000?
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
what's
even-
that come out to?
That's what I thought was ridiculous.
'Cause
The
he
fact
made
that
$60,000.
He won $60,000 for winning one fight.
Yeah.
He didn't have to go through a gauntlet.
Yep.
At least Howard had to walk to the cage.
They should have split it.
And get there and stand across from Hoist, just have Hoist quit.
Should have
I mean,
split
listen, Howard only fought one person.
Still.
So it's not like you know what I mean? It's not like he only had one more fight than Ginham. So, like, I understand that. But, dude, that one fight, he ate a bunch of damage. When he walked in there, he had blood on him. Steve Ginham,
fresh as a daisy.
he did some push-ups.
He was in the
did
crowd.
some push-ups before he got in there.
Watching the fights.
He was perfectly fine.
That was crazy. It's the American dream.
Yeah, the American dream, buddy. To get in there and not have to do a whole lot and get a bunch of money.
60K.
That's the American dream right there.
$60K in 1994 is
Shit ton of money.
that's some walking around money,
That's
dude.
some walking around money. Gator. Gator don't play that.
No, it's so good.
I don't really know what to say about the fight. I mean, Steve Ginham just
Yeah,
you know what the fight looked like?
He survived that half-guard guillotine for a minute.
They did, and it looked like Howard. He was probably a bit gassed.
A lesser man who didn't know any better might have tapped, but he knew that choke wasn't finishable from that position.
Well, and that was the thing. It was like, Howard put all of his eggs in that basket.
He was everything.
He was already probably pretty gassed.
Yep.
Then you do that and finish the job.
He was done for.
That was it.
Yep.
And after that, he got knocked down again, and I think his team wound up throwing in the towel and basically submission by punches.
Yep.
I mean, it was just it puts a bad taste in your mouth. You know what I mean? And I hope, and I don't know what they do, but I hope that they address this moving forward. I hope that there's some type.
I don't remember.
I hope they address this. You cannot have somebody walk in fresh as anything, having not fought
As an
all
alternate.
that night,
Yeah.
and fight in the finals and get money if they win, get a shit ton of money if they win. It's not fair.
Or like a negotiated lesser amount or something.
Man, something. Split the money with the guy what's something?
Yeah.
Something has to happen. You can't just walk in there and do that. So.
At least these guys by UFC 3, at least the guys who lost were finally making some money.
I mean, it would almost have been better. Like, why not have Chemo fight Harold Howard? You know what I mean?
Chemo, he looked fresh enough to come back in the cage and celebrate.
That's what I'm saying. Why
Hoist
not
quit.
make that fight happen? Say, hey, because Chemo lost to a guy that was unable to continue, put him in.
That's a great point.
And he should have fought Howard in the semifinals, and not even necessarily the finals.
That's a great point.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. I mean, hindsight. I mean, they didn't know what to do.
I think the quarterfinalists, the losers made $1,000,
Yeah,
and then the
which was nice.
semifinalist losers made $5,000 that night.
Yeah.
I think they finally started paying out for the losers.
Do you think that's why Hoist walked out to the cage?
I don't know.
Counts as a loss.
I get maybe. Hey, maybe that's a good idea.
I have a question. I mean, it counts as a loss. I don't know if it counts as a loss on his record. Do you think that counts as a loss on his record?
Go look.
It does not.
Yeah, they threw in the towel, right? So, like, I think he snuck away with a what is that? A no contest?
Nothing. It was as if the fight never happened. It doesn't count against him at all.
Oh, okay.
Yep, doesn't
Not
count
even
against
a
him.
no contest, a no fight.
Yep, does not count against him whatsoever. Man, Hoist Gracie would have a lot of draws in his life, huh? Because it's like you either have to finish them or you know what I mean.
Wait till we talk about Hoist versus Sakuraba and Pride. Then.
Now, when are we getting to Bellator 149? Kid Shamrock,
we got a long way
Hoist
to
Gracie,
go. We got a long
Bellator.
way to
Yeah,
go.
we're gonna go through Bellator events starting at 1. That's gonna be our new podcast.
The rematch of last century.
Well, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Man, I'm looking forward to 4.
I'm looking forward to 4 because I don't know anything about it, so I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to talking about it with you.
I am. There's nothing else that I can think of.
Hey, what's the event name for 4?
Ooh, Revenge of the Warriors. UFC 4, Revenge of the Warriors. The buy rate goes back up, by the way. I won't tell you what it is.
Little cliffhanger for next week.
I won't tell you what it is, but the buy rate does go back up. So I'm sure, and it is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we're going to another city now.
We're on the
so
move.
That's pretty cool. So, all right, guys, that is all we got. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please let your friends know about this wonderful show that Matt and I are doing, and follow the podcast at LoudMouth MMA. See you guys next week.
See ya.
So